Welcome in to the OKS Youth Ministry Podcast with Michael. This is where three
What are we doing?
of the OKS Youth Ministers talk about youth ministry. I'm Michael Deason. This is Jeremy.
This is Jeremy.
And this is Unter.
Hi, I'm Hunter.
We're back at it, back in the studio.
Yeah, we did it.
And we're back.
We made it back into what we call a studio.
Yeah. It's also Hartzell's
this is
puppet
the
room.
studio.
It's just a puppet room. That's all. That's
Well,
all.
I mean, it's really cool.
With some patina.
Some funky cold patina.
We are back. What happened for you guys this weekend? Let me just hear. What did the weekend look like for you?
Friday night, we had a Flintstones Christmas party, which is our, I guess, newborn to 5th grade. Saturday night, we had our youth group Christmas party, which is 6th through 12th grade. And then Sunday, we had Church Eat Church. And then we had our young adult Christmas party. So, yeah, I mean, it's, a nice, slow, relaxing weekend.
Yesterday was just super busy. I had a Christmas concert that lasted 2 hours.
I got to be there for 20 minutes.
That was the longest. It was great. I mean, they did a great job.
The performers though?
Yeah. It was incredible. But
Incredible.
That's every year.
Whose Christmas concert?
actually,
It's Hartzell's chorus, but there's
Okay.
different groups within
so
the
there's
chorus.
like the choir, then there's like the chorus, and then there's the chorale. And then there's the performers, and then there's there's a ton of just so many different things. And then at the end, I love how they do the Silent Night. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. They have one candle that is lit on stage, and then all of the people who are singing and performing and whatever are circled around the entire audience. Like they're circled all the way around. And they take that one candle and they light to the left and the right, and then they go all the way down and light as they're singing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's awesome.
I'd probably cry.
You probably would. You probably would. Definitely.
No, dude, this weekend was nuts for the Crows because we had a robotics competition.
Lots of dead bodies.
Yep, Lincoln's competition was robotics. That lasted 8.5 hours. I was there. Now, let me tell you, for the 1 minute per round that Lincoln is participating, very exciting. Very exciting for 1 minute. It's the 45 minutes to an hour 15 between rounds it gets you. Then
and you can't leave, right?
Nope.
You can't,
And then Elliot had 2 basketball games. Lincoln had 2 basketball games. My wife coaches my daughter's team. They did lose both of their games.
She wasn't coacher today.
That hurt a little bit. Yeah, that's true. She's not feeling good today. But Lincoln's team lost their first game, should have won. If you're a listener in Fairview, I doubt there is, but I don't think your team was better than ours, and we should have won that game.
Amen.
But the second game we played, we were down by 8 on the other Fairview team and just getting whipped. And within 3 minutes to the end of the game, we're down by 8. My boys found something within themselves, and they started to come back.
They got the roll tide in.
We got within 4. Then Lincoln hits 2 free throws. Lincoln drives to the paint, gets fouled, hits 2 free throws. Okay. Then Noah, another one of our boys, gets fouled, hits his 2 free throws. We have tied it up with like 20 seconds on the clock.
Oh, man.
Goes to overtime. In overtime, we hit 4 more free throws. 6th grade boys hit 8 free throws in a row, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
Late game free throws, man, they matter. So it's pretty exciting. And then last night we had our youth Christmas party. With the
We did ours
dinner.
too, but we didn't have a Christmas.
The progressive dinner was a cool idea. You sent a really nice
Excel spreadsheet.
All colored.
Yes. It went really well. Had a great time. Great hosts. Lots of fun.
And hostesses.
And then we played a game. We played Jeopardy at the end, Christmas Jeopardy. And our boys won Christmas Jeopardy this year.
Very cool.
And so the prize, and this is something I do, I don't know if y'all do anything like this. Instead of giving individual prizes to the students, I give like a big prize, which is a trip to the movies where they all get to go and, we pay for their ticket. But the rule that I made was whether the girls won or the guys won, whichever it was, they have to invite someone in our church that's not involved with youth ministry.
Very cool.
So they have to like bring, like I said, like you could bring Roy Bell. But like they got to invite somebody in our church, an older member to go to the movies with our youth.
So Ronnie doesn't count?
Well, they mentioned Ronnie, but he is youth ministry adjacent. So what I might do is say if they want to invite Ronnie, okay, yeah, we'll get Ronnie a ticket, but then invite someone else, that's
but
not youth ministry
you know
adjacent.
what? That's ironic because Michael and I are not youth ministry related to Coleman, and we're open for a free invitation to the movies.
True. That's Coleman McQuiston.
Now, hey, Coleman, I know Coleman will hear this, but the other thing I would say is they have discussed what film they would like to see.
Zootopia 2.
Actually, they said we may wait a year and a half for when they re-release A New Hope in theater and go watch Star Wars A New Hope in 2027. I said maybe we should use the gift card before then, guys.
An IOU. So let me ask you this.
We had ours and it went really well.
Yeah. So Jeremy mentioned this, the robotics competition, and you said that it was very long and it was a boring competition.
Arduous.
So let me ask you this. If you take out the side of like Lincoln's there, he's your son, you need to be there for your son. If it was like a youth group kid, would you rather go to a robotics competition or a swim competition?
A robotics, 100%. For 1,000%.
Okay.
Because here's why. One, people that swim are losers. It's like Hunter. No, I'm just kidding.
As I swim 2,600 yards this morning.
So, no.
But also knowing that, like, that has to be so boring to watch. Like, no one wants to sit there and watch you swim that long. Like,
no,
that's
well,
terrible.
the thing is, I don't want
to swim that long.
I want to watch our youth group kids swim for the 30, 45 seconds that they are competing. I want to cheer my heart out for them, get fired up for them, cheer them on, congratulate them at the end, whatever, right? I want to do that. It's the 2 hours that I'm sitting in a humid, miserable environment in the indoor pool waiting for their next heat, right?
Yeah. So where do they swim? Is it at the Coleman?
I hate that, and I hate track meets because you're sitting, the same thing, you're sitting out in the sun cooking, waiting on the next event.
Where does the Coleman swim team swim?
They have...
there's a pool.
Yeah, they use water. They do
Sportsman's Lake.
A lot of events at the aquatic center. Yeah, they use the aquatic.
They just head out to the lake. Raw tide.
So there you go.
Fantastic.
Man, we have now that we've had a fun start. We kind of have a heavy topic on our plate this morning.
How much does it weigh?
A good bit. About
when it's done
6, 7.
A good bit when it's done wrong.
Is that jacket made of Hemway?
What's Hemway?
About 7 pounds. Or 6.
I didn't expect that.
We're gonna have to restart this.
No. This is gold. This is radio gold.
All right. So today we're talking about a heavy topic, and it's something that can be very heavy.
How heavy is it?
It can be very heavy if it's not done in the right way and in the proper way.
Not the way we're doing this.
Not like this, but a lasting impression on those around what happens, and that is when tragedy hits home.
Hey Hunter, is that sweatshirt, is that made out of Hemway?
What's a Hemway?
No, it's not.
About 6 pounds, 7.
So good.
All right, we're supposed to be talking about tragedy.
I think we all are dreading it, so we're avoiding it.
Okay.
Hey, so in all seriousness, Hunter's trying to be serious, but we're not letting him.
We're trying to get this going. We have another episode recorded after this. And
we're not going to do that.
In all reality, this is legitimately something that every youth ministry at some point faces. When some sort of tragedy or challenging kind of thing happens, either in your group or with friends of your students or in the community, something bad happens. A student takes their life. A student is in a car wreck and maybe ends up in a coma, or something tragic happens that all of our students are involved with. We experienced this last fall, the shooting with Charlie Kirk, and kind of how do we navigate those kind of moments in youth ministry. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today.
Just to kind of start the conversation, I know a lot of my students listened and watched Charlie Kirk videos and stuff. And so when they saw that happen, I watched the video and it was not on purpose. I was just scrolling through social media and then that video just popped up and I was like, oh my goodness. And I talked to several of our kids, and they had that same reaction, you know.
Yeah.
One of them even told me, he was like, they said, here's the thing. And then somebody sent me a video, and I opened it, and I didn't know what it was. And then I watched it, you know, and said that it just he just kept thinking about it all day. And he was like, and I didn't want to think about it, but it just kept replaying in my mind. And me and him kind of had a conversation a little bit about it, and it was, in his words, it was kind of like watching a good friend of his die.
Yeah.
You know, because he had watched so many hours of this guy's podcast and his, you know, all of his things,
the campus videos,
and all of those videos, and he, you know, kind of listened to him and really respected the guy, and then this happened. And it was just a tragic thing, you know, and having conversations like that with your students is very important because it helps them learn how to cope with the things that are going on. We are not, our purpose in situations like this where something terrible happens, you know, our purpose is not to try and fix the situation because there's nothing that can fix it. The only thing that can fix it is Jesus Christ, right? Mm-hmm. He's the only thing that ever was able to fix it. We just can't. When tragedy hits, we don't just try to fix the grief that the kids are going through, but we try to be there so they can have someone that they love and trust to talk through it with.
Let's go back to that situation specifically. That was a Wednesday, I believe, that happened. We all had class that night. We all were meeting with students. What did that look like for you guys? And I'll tell you what we did. We got there at Coleman, and I didn't make the whole class about it, right? But we took the first 5-10 minutes or something like that, and I just addressed what happened, right? Just said, look, you know, without going into gory detail, here's what I know a lot of you experienced today. You know, those of you that are on TikTok or those of you, you know, that saw this, you've heard about it. And we just acknowledge, you know, what happened, what took place. And so what did you guys do?
Well, at that same time, I think it was that weekend before it happened, there was a car wreck in Hartselle, and it took the life of one of the students at the school. I don't think they were in either. I mean, they weren't in my youth group. They weren't in your youth group either. But it was very. It was affecting the students at that point. So they had already kind of seen some tragedy, and it was tough for them too, dealing with that, and then turning around and dealing with Charlie in the same week. Yeah. So that Wednesday, we were starting a new series, I believe, and I just canceled that series. Just moved it back a week, and I just had a class kind of on maybe death and dying, and it was more related to, I just wanted them to talk and open up and be able to talk to each other and kind of be able to cope with it together. And then, like what y'all were saying earlier, we're also there in the same room, so we're able to be there for them at that time. But doing it in a way that they're able to open up, a way that they feel safe, a way that they feel comfort as well, and kind of just reassuring them of the hope that we have for eternity in heaven as well.
It kind of helped our class because we had been studying Crazy Love by Francis Chan. We were kind of going through that book, and a lot of what that book talks about is, hey, you could die today, and that we had just finished that chapter the week before, that Wednesday before.
Oh, wow.
And then the wreck happened, and that Sunday night, I had several kids come to me and talk with me. And then when the Charlie Kirk thing happened, we got into class, and I was like, okay, let's kind of talk about it a little bit. And the kids were like, this just opened our eyes to like, this is real. Like this isn't just you talking and we're teaching and we're like, yeah, we agree. You know, this was one of the people that I'd sing in choir with died today.
Yeah.
You know, and they talked about how that was something that they just kept thinking. And one of the people in my youth group, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but had driven by that accident and saw them pulling bodies out of the vehicles. Mm-hmm. And they were just limp bodies. And she was like, and I know that it was probably one of the ones, you know. Yeah. And she was like, it just keeps playing through my head, you know. And so things like that, no matter what, if you are in youth ministry, working with youth ministry, helping in youth, doesn't matter. You're going to experience something like this.
Yeah.
I remember one of the classes Jerry Elder taught where of all the people in this child's life, they needed somebody to identify the body after a suicide. And they called Jerry, who was their youth minister. Parents weren't there. Family wasn't there. None of his friends, he didn't really have very many friends. They called Jerry, and he had to go into a home and identify the body. Those are the kind of things that we have to deal with. And I want to, before we get into what we're going to really talk about, I do want to say that just because you're a youth minister, that doesn't mean that you don't deal with grief.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's on both ends.
It's going to be on both ends. And you need to find a way to cope, find a way to deal with it on your end so that you can be effective. If you are completely overwhelmed with grief or something, go talk to someone. Call a good friend. Talk through it with them. Call one of us and talk with us about it if you don't have anybody else that you can trust to do it. But find some way to talk through that event so that you can find a way to cope and to feel better about that situation before you can help children.
And you also want to be careful with how you're handling those situations. I've been very blessed to be at Heritage, finishing up the MDiv, but throughout my time there, I've had a lot of counseling classes. And something I've realized through these counseling classes is I am not a counselor. I'm a youth minister. I'm getting my education, but I am by no means a licensed counselor.
Yeah.
So in a lot of things I'm doing, I'm realizing, hey, I can do this to a certain extent. We were talking the other day about solution-focused counseling and how simple it is. And, to an extent, I can do that.
Yeah.
But at some point, I have to understand where I need to draw the line. And if this kid needs more help, I'm going to end up hurting him more than I am helping him or her in that situation because I'm too prideful to send them to someone else or refer them to a licensed counselor, someone that maybe actually knows what they're doing. Or for me, a lot of times sending them to Michael, who has a lot more counseling experience than I do.
So one of the things I would say is what Hunter just pointed out is maybe have a list of people that that provide counseling options.
You should 100% do that.
For specific things, right? It might be someone with grief counseling. It might be someone that works with marital counseling, helping a kid navigate divorce, and their parents are going through, or helping, whatever it might be. Having a list of counselors that you trust, that they're going to come hopefully from a Christian perspective too, to give some advisement for how to help or how to listen to a student that's really going through something challenging.
And there aren't many one-size-fits-all counselors. Have multiple counselors on your list that all specialize in one thing. And oftentimes we think about tragedy within the youth group. We think about death. We think about the kid or the student passing away in the car accident. But Jeremy brought up a very valid point. Sometimes it is a divorce in a family. That's a tragedy for that child in that family, and they need help at that point as well.
It's important that we acknowledge this as well, that none of us are really professionals, okay? And we are, as people who are members of the clergy, as the law calls us, we are people who are able to help kids and counsel kids to an extent. And I do want to say that we are mandatory reporters. So if a child comes into your office and says that they are suicidal, then you need to call the police and you need to set up and get some care there. Right. Sometimes I've even heard youth ministers physically having to hold someone there, like, no, I'm going to hold you here until police arrive, so that you're not a harm to yourself or to others. And if you do not report that, and something does happen, you will be just as guilty as the person, and so you'll be charged with whatever. So this is something that it doesn't matter even if you're just a little bit nervous, you need to call somebody and have them come in and do a wellness check or something like that before, and that applies to everything across the board. Any kind of lawful thing that if a kid tells you that they're going to do something, or you need to be reporting that stuff because you need to keep protect yourself and protect your family. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the reason why I started going for a degree in counseling is because right around and the COVID stuff, after about 3 months of going through the kids staying at home, not going to school, and all of that stuff, I probably counseled 15 students. And of that 15, I would say 10 of them mentioned like suicidal ideation. You know, I think the world would be better if I wasn't in it, that kind of thing. And doesn't mean that they were suicidal or anything, but it was just they kind of thought about it and stuff. And that whole process brought me to a place where I was completely uncomfortable helping them in that situation. And I was like, well, God loves you and you shouldn't do that. You know, I didn't know what to say.
Right.
And so I was constantly having to refer. And I had a great Jeff Klein, incredible counselor over in Jonesboro. If you're in that area, he's a great person to refer people to. And I referred so many people over to him, and I didn't know what else to do. And so as soon as that was over and I kind of got through that little rough patch there, I was like, I've got to find some way to be a better counselor. Because there was several kids that they were like, I don't want to talk to anybody else. I just want to talk to you about it. And I'm like, right. I can't help you. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do here, you know?
So let's talk about practical kind of steps of how we go about this. So let's say the circumstance is a student in the local school that your youth ministry is involved with takes their life, right? There's a suicide note. This kid takes their life. It's known that that's what happened. Okay. What are your first steps as a youth minister in the local church? What are you doing, in the first 24 hours, 48 hours after this tragedy happens?
Trying your best to get into the schools.
Yeah.
Being there for them. I think both of us were able to get into. Did you go to the high school? Mm-hmm. So I was at the junior high. So we were both able to get into the school systems in some way and be present there. And it's not only just for other teens that don't have maybe a church background or their youth minister's not there, but a lot of it's for your teens too. I mean, I saw every single one of my teens at that time, and they have that issue as well.
Yeah.
They gave me a room. The school did. They were like, hey, we've got a room over here. You just let us know if you need to use it, however we can help. And I had several kids. Well, I had two that came in, and one of them just needed to talk, and it was very brief, 15 minutes maybe. Another one was in there for about 45 minutes, and we just kind of talked through everything. And by the time I got out, everybody had already left, and but they needed someone to talk to about the situation, and that was something I was able to do. They actually said that I could come up there, and they gave me free coffee. They gave me a breakfast. They were all about me being there.
So this is the thing is it doesn't impact 4 or 5 students. When it's something like that, whether it's a popular kid, whether it's a kid that's on the fringe, whatever it is, the whole school is impacted or has an impression from whatever happened, right? Whether it's a suicide or whether it's a car wreck, whatever it might be. One of the things I loved when we were living in Tullahoma was we had a great relationship with the local churches, all the different congregations around town, Churches of Christ, Baptist, Methodist, whoever, right? Presbyterian. All of these youth ministers were in kind of a group together. When something like this happened, a group message went out from the school board or the school principal, and it was like, hey, we're calling on those that lead in youth ministry in this community. And they would give us the library, right, for the entire day. We had the school library, and they let students know, hey, there's people to listen, to talk with, available, and they're going to be there all day. And we would literally just go and we would take shifts. And so, I'd have an hour and a half or 2 hour window where I would work the library, and then the other youth minister from another church would come in and take my place. And we did that for about a week after something like this happens, just to be available and be present for these students.
Well, and it's tough too because I think your example was a student committing suicide, and there's different ways, but those sudden losses are tough. Yeah. The car crash. My youth group knows this. When I was in high school, I lost one of my best friends to a cardiac arrest. He was one of the most athletic kids at the school, and he just died on the track running before basketball practice one day. Just out of nowhere. I mean, it hit us hard. But what I want the youth ministers and the youth workers that are listening to this to understand is these tragedies impact far more than just your youth group. Oh, yeah. It impacts the rest of the school. When that happened, the church that he went to is a Baptist church down the road. Their youth minister got very involved in that situation. And I'll tell you, to this day, me and him have a really good relationship. Though we see a lot of things differently when it comes to doctrinal stuff and theology. But, I call on him for a lot of different situations. Why? Because he handled that one situation in my life perfectly. Yeah. He was there for everybody. He was open to everybody. He wanted everyone to come to him and just so they could talk to him and he could listen. I mean, he was active listening, and it was just a perfect situation, and he handled it so well. And even, I'm almost 30 now, and that still has a big impact in my life because he handled it well on his end.
Yeah.
So it impacts a lot more people than you think.
So our example, obviously, is we're following after Christ, right? We're trying to do things and be the way that Christ is in community and in situations. While he does, he alone has the answer to fix things that we don't have, right? But his first step in a lot of tragedy kind of moments isn't to fix it. It's to mourn with those who are mourning, and to acknowledge the loss and to be present with them. You think about Lazarus' death, how he goes and makes himself present and known and available to their family before he ever does the resurrection, right? Just being present with our students.
I mean, you look at Job, and that whole situation was just a train wreck of a situation until the one friend just sits down with him for days and just doesn't speak, doesn't talk, doesn't
have to say anything.
Just there for him, give him support. I think a lot of times we make mistakes like his wife and his friends, Job's wife and friends, where we kind of rush into these situations and try to explain it away. I can't tell you how many times that I've heard people say, God works mysterious ways in situations like that. Yeah, everything happens for a reason. And God
needed another angel.
Yeah, God needed another angel.
How idiotic is that, though?
All of those things. Let me just tell. I'm going to say this.
Don't say it.
Say it.
I'm going to say this.
You say it.
God did not make this kid commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did not happen because God wanted it to happen. It happened because Satan won in that one little situation. That's what happened. God did not have anything to do with that. He was actively trying to prevent that. And Satan won that little battle there. Okay.
And we create weird theology for kids when we start to answer questions.
That's correct. And if you start saying things like that, and you are, it's gonna mess with their heads. There's so many kids who they say, well, if God could prevented it, this would, those things. It just brings me back to when John the Baptist is in prison, and Jesus is out doing miracles. He's out doing all these things for all these strangers and all these people. And John the Baptist is in prison, and he's about to be killed, and he knows it. And he sends a message to Jesus, and he says, "Hey, man, I'm in prison. I'm your cousin. Why are you? I've not done anything. I've done everything for you. Why are you not saving me?" And Jesus basically says, "Because this is what I'm doing right now is more important."
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now is more important. There's no explanation on why he didn't break him out of jail, right? There's no explanation, but he didn't. And that's what we just have to understand, that sometimes things just happen. And that's not a thing that God did this or God forced these. It's just things happen.
So what kind of questions are your kids asking you in these moments, right? What kind of things are they wanting to know or they're struggling with when this tragedy happens?
They want to know why. Yeah. Why did it happen? Why did it happen that, whatever those tragedies might be, why is this happening? Why are my parents getting divorced? Why did the car crash into the other vehicle? Why did the kid commit suicide? And something I also want us to understand is you don't have to have the answer.
Yeah.
The kids are asking these questions, but you don't have to come up with this elaborate answer or try and make it, this is going to kind of hurt it, but you don't have to have a spiritual explanation.
Yeah.
A lot of times they just want to be heard. I think Andrew Itson came, I want to say it was during our summer series, and he told a story of a time that when he was in college ministry at Dalreda over at Faulkner in Montgomery. And he talked about one of the kids had passed away, so he went to the family's home, and he sat down with the family. He didn't say a single word. And I want to say he was there for like 2 hours, and he was leaving. And in his head, he was like, man, like, I'm such a doofus. I didn't say a single word. I didn't comfort this family. I didn't do anything for this family. And he said on his way out, the mom walked up to him and gave him a big hug, and she said, "You said exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you so much." And then he walked out. And he sat there, and he's like, I didn't say anything. He's like, this is crazy. But then he realized that's exactly what she wanted to hear.
Yeah.
A lot of times they just want someone to be there for them. Yeah. Jeremy has a lot of really good, he's given one good lesson, but he's also talked about a lot. And it's, no. But 1 year at Exposure, he talked about it. But like, it's active listening. being able to actively listen to somebody without having to always interject in the conversation or always have to have your 2 cents. It's was it mimicking what they're doing? It's replicating them in an active way. Yeah. So they feel more connected to you, and they're more likely to open up even more and continue to discuss with you. You don't have to have all the answers. You're not going to have all the answers of why a teenager decided to end his life because he felt like he didn't deserve to be on this earth anymore. Yeah. That makes no sense to anybody. It was his decision. We have no idea what was going on in his mind. Do we wish we could prevented it? 100%. But at this moment, we can't take that back. So we just have to keep going with it too. But also, they want to make sure that they are heard, and you want to make sure that they feel heard as well. And I love this. This was in the notes. If your students feel like you're trying to move on, they'll stop bringing their grief to church. We're not trying to get to the next thing. Just because you have a lesson series that you're right in the middle of doesn't mean that you can't stop because some giant tragedies happened in your life.
Right.
You can work around it. Part of being a youth minister is being fluid, being able to adapt to the things around you, be able to adapt to those situations. Don't feel like you have to move on just because something's happening.
Yeah. We actually had a moment yesterday, and I think, I guess I'm going to ask if we transition into kind of thinking about after the immediate tragedy happens, after the immediate headline fades away, how do we minister in the long term? And I'll tell you, I failed on one yesterday. I had a student who talked to me yesterday morning, and she had a friend that passed away about probably 8 months to a year ago. And I haven't followed up with her on that the way that I should. That's something that I realized yesterday. Hey, I've kind of dropped the ball on this. This girl she's still mourning, right? That loss. She's still going through the pain of that. Yeah, that's long gone. No one's talking about it in the school like they were the week of. But she is still navigating this grief, right? What do we do after the news cycle changes, right? How do we continue to do ongoing ministry for our students in that moment?
I mean, it's one of that phrase that's kind of cliche that I think it's really great. The people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Mm-hmm. You need to just be present for that person. There's not really much you can do outside of, you can say, hey, how are you doing in this situation? Is everything? But honestly, just being there, the fact that she came back and talked to you 8 months after it. Yeah. Means that you did do what you were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You are a trusted person that they love, that a steady, reliable presence there, that you are there for them. You are there to help them. You should not be burdening yourself with, you're not a trauma specialist, right. So you don't need to be burdening yourself with feeling bad because you didn't follow up and all this stuff. We're not trained to do this. We're not trained to follow up and make sure everybody's doing good and have weekly meetings with people but the fact that she did come back to you and talk to you about it means that you are a safe place, somebody that you trust, someone that's going to be there for them, and hopefully that meeting went well and you were able to provide some comfort for her. Grief affects people in so many different ways. Some people, it doesn't hit them and they just kind of keep moving on. Some people, it hits them like a truck and they just can't move on.
Well, and this conversation happened yesterday morning before Sunday morning worship, right? It wasn't a sit down for a counseling session kind of thing. It was just a passing comment, right, that she just made in a short conversation with me before worship, and it dawned on me, hey, she's still very much hurting, right? Yeah. And so I plan to follow up on that, and we have to be aware and paying attention to our students and recognizing when there's something different about their demeanor or their personality, and seeing, okay, they're still navigating this, right? So that's something I'm challenging myself this week to follow up on, that little snippet to open the door to that conversation that she may need to have further conversation about that.
And there are a lot of little things as well that we can do or try and do to help out. As we said, we're not professionals in this. Anniversaries is a big thing. I mentioned my buddy, his name was Adam, and when he passed away, that the youth minister, he would text us every year on the day that he passed away and said, "Hey, I'm still praying for y'all. If y'all need anything, reach out." It's been a year since that. My mom, even to this day, she'll text me on his birthday. My birthday is December 22nd. His is January 23rd. So it's fairly easy for her to remember. But she'll text me on those days, say, "Hey, remember it was Adam's birthday today. Think about him," and stuff like that. So just through memories as well along those lines.
Yeah. I'll tell you, getting a text message like that from someone you love is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's something that I appreciate, and I look forward, whenever to following up with those people who text me about stuff that are things like that. It really means a lot.
I would encourage you, youth ministers, listen to this. If a kid's, maybe there's a situation where a kid's parent passes away from cancer. We had that happen in our youth group a few years ago. And when that happened, I went in my calendar and I put a note in. I went 1 year away from there and I put a note, a reminder, a calendar date of this is when her dad passed, right?
I've got a lot of those.
And so doing that for yourself, because if you're like me in the situation just a moment ago, I just forgot. I forgot to follow up because I didn't set a reminder for myself. Because we will. I mean, life gets busy. You forget those kind of things. And so even using your calendar to say, hey, on this day, I need to text this kid and say, hey, just want you to know, I know it's been a hard year. I was thinking about you today. I'm going to be praying for you today as you go through, as you navigate this anniversary, and I love you.
Yeah. It
really matters.
I think, we're kind of moving to the next topic is this is something that of all the things that I do as a youth minister that are extra things, not just ministering to kids, but then that next little, tier there is I want to make sure that ministers are taken care of.
Yeah.
I feel a calling to that. I have had where I've been through some seriously weird and stuff where had it not been for sometimes just random people in my life that I just ran into at Lads Leaders in 2015, 2014, and they just say the exact thing that I needed to hear, and that's something that we need to be cognizant of. We need to make sure that we are aware that just because we're ministers doesn't mean that we don't deal with grief and hurt and experience heartache, and knowing that you need to have someone that you trust, that you are able to walk with when something like this happens to you. And it can even be something like one of your students, dies in a car accident, and that can affect you in a deep way, more than it affects the students that you're working with, and making sure that you're taken care of and that you're in a good place to walk through those situations.
You mentioned Jerry Elder's situation earlier, and I wasn't in that lesson, so I haven't heard him talk about this. But I would assume probably he had someone in his life that followed up with him to make sure he's okay, right?
Right.
Someone that was doing what you're talking about after a really challenging, traumatic, kind of thing that he had to deal with identifying his student, right?
Yeah.
Having that safe haven, whether it's one of your elders or another minister, a professional counselor, whoever it might be, having someone that steps in and encourages you in that way.
I know, they did some studies and stuff that someone who loses a job that they really love, it says that, and this is for youth ministers too, someone that loses a job that they really love is equivalent to the grief that they feel, and everything is equivalent to losing a spouse. Mm-hmm. And so that, somebody gets laid off because some other, whatever it is, making sure that they're taken care of and making sure that they're going, what they're experiencing and what they're going through is that you're there for them and that you care for them. And that can go, if you have a youth minister or a minister friend that has lost their job, or something abrupt happened, or they had a moral dilemma where that caused them to lose their job, or anything like that, you need to be checking in. You need to, that responsibility is on you to check in and make sure that those guys and girls are doing okay. Make sure that whatever they're experiencing that you're there for them, and talk to your elders if you're experiencing grief or depression or anxiety or any of these things. Talk to your elders about it. Tell them, hey, I need your prayers. I need somebody to walk through this with me, and talk with them. Get a counselor. I know so many of my minister friends who say the best thing they ever did was getting a counselor to speak to, and it's important to do that. Go ahead.
Well, and it's understanding too. We dive into these kids' lives. We're a part of these kids' lives. When tragedy happens in their lives, it's happening in our lives too. But on top of that, we also have our own lives. We have our own tragedies as well. The counselor, talking to your elders, those are great too. And if elders listen to this, understand that you can allow your ministers to take a Sabbath, to just give them a week to just walk away from ministry, just so they can kind of recoup and gather themselves together again. So many times, and this is kind of away from student tragedy, more on our tragedy side of things, is, a parent passes away and we're having to deal with that and learning about that. If an elder is willing to give you a week to go off and be with your family and be surrounded by your loved ones, take advantage of it. Or elders, if you're listening to it, allow that to happen in those situations, because that's going to help in the long run a lot more than whether he was there for the week or not in the church building, not doing anything anyways, because he's too grieved about his parents or whatever situation is happening in that time anyways.
Well, I mean, I had a son who was in the hospital for a week, and he was 7 or 8 days old when he went in. And I didn't have that luxury. Yeah. I wasn't offered, hey, if you need time with your family and you need, then go ahead and take it. I wasn't given that. And so that's something that, like, elders or whoever, if you're listening, that's something that was detrimental to me. I mean, and there was a lot more things like that where this was not offered, and I just had to deal with it, and making sure that those people are taken care of, they're looked after, and that when tragedy does strike like that, that we are able to provide whatever we're able to provide. And sometimes that means babysitting kids. Sometimes that means bringing food. Sometimes that means sending out a message to a bunch of your friends and asking for DoorDash things so that they can go, get something else to eat other than hospital food. And so I had a friend who who's almost lost his child, and that whole situation, I can't imagine, and we were able to get, I think, I sent out a text to a bunch of our friends, a bunch of our buddies, and was like, hey, I'm going to get a DoorDash gift card. And I was like, I'm going to give $20, maybe we can provide a couple meals for them. We ended up sending them like $400 and something.
I love it.
Which was crazy. Like, I was just like, are you kidding? That is not what I expect. I thought we'd send them like $100 max. Yeah. And then one guy just donated $200. I was like, good grief, But doing things like that it's what's going to make a difference.
Well, it's understanding that you could be in that situation as well.
Yeah.
And that you're blessed and you're glad to help other people out, because you're hoping that other people help you out when you're in that situation.
And I think Michael said something a minute ago that, if you are navigating some kind of major grief in your life, it absolutely will affect your work.
Oh, yeah.
And you need to be upfront and honest with your eldership about where you're at.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, man, I don't want to go deep down this hole, but when my dad passed, I was really messed up, emotionally, spiritually. I was in an angry place with God. I was kind of checking the boxes and going through the motions with work, not really doing a good job, just doing the bare minimum to not get fired, essentially. But I never walked into the room and talked to my elders about it, right? And all I did was build resentment and anger because they weren't ministering to me in this, and they had no idea how bad I was hurting, right? I would love to say that they're aware enough that they would, think about it and come to you on their own, but they've also got their own lives, and they may be navigating some kind of grief of their own.
And they've got 600 people that they're looking over.
So you might need to be your own advocate and go to your eldership and say, hey man, I'm really struggling with whatever, the situation is. I'm really hurting right now, and I just need you guys to shepherd me in this moment.
Yeah.
So if you're in that place of navigating some kind of grief in your ministry or in your family, be open about it and talk to your leadership about it. If they don't help you through that, you need to be somewhere else.
I don't know,
because a good eldership is going to love you and shepherd you through the pain and tragedy you're hurting from.
Yeah. I don't know who it was that gave me that advice at a younger age, like as a, I don't know, a minister that was 2 or 3 years into ministry. But they gave me that advice, and they were like, "Hey, the elders care about you, and they love you, and they want to see you succeed. They know how these things work. You need to talk to them." But that has saved me multiple times, where I can go and speak to our elders and say, this is what's going on, and I need prayer, and I need help to navigate how to handle this situation.
And if you're more of an employee than a person to them, go somewhere else. Find an eldership that will shepherd you and love you and help you grow.
They don't deserve to have somebody that's...
And there are a lot looking, so you can find
just trust me. You can find a youth ministry job.
They keep calling us.
I can hook you up.
Yeah. But hey, listen, a little call to action for this, for those that are listening. This is what we can do. We can pray for our students. We can pray for our town. We can pray for wisdom. And most importantly, we need to stay present. Because being present is going to mean a lot more than saying the right things.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and remember Psalm 46:1, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble.
Yeah,
we've got and continue to pray. Stay in prayer, praying for your student, your town, your church, your community. Pray for wisdom in situations like that, and make sure that you're staying present and in every situation. You got any other marks? Any other?
I hope your ministry's blessed. No, I'm just kidding.
And we hope your ministry is blessed.
Oh, man. What an ending.
Thanks for joining us today in the important conversation of youth ministry. Go and follow us on Instagram and check out oksyouthministry.com for more information about our upcoming episodes. We'll be dropping a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. And hey, it's okay to be the OKS Youth Minister around, but let's all strive to be just a little bit better.